Thank you, Lota. Hello, everyone. My name is Milan Lazarevic. I'm General Manager of Fiscal Solutions. I'm very glad to be here with you today. And I will try to explain or to see fiscalization to present fiscalization from other perspective and to see if and how fiscalization is actually impacting innovation in retail. So I'm not sure if there are more positive aspects or no. Let's see. I will guide you through the presentation, if I can manage this. All right. Okay, so the agenda for today's presentation is, first of all, I will tell a little bit about our company, so you have understanding why I feel that I'm competent to give presentations related to the fiscalization and their impact on the retail innovation. We will speak about fiscalization challenges, so I will go through the all negative aspects, or at least how the retailers see it, and they usually say it as a burden. And I'm not going to say that is it or not. I will make the conclusion at the end. Then we will see the other side of the story, if and how fiscalization is actually impacting innovation in retail. And then we will make the final conclusion. So about the company, Fiscal Solution exists about 20 years. And from the very beginning, we were 100% focused on the retail. We are members of the different organizations responsible for the definition of fiscalization standards and digitalization in retail. We are active in 27 different countries, and some of our customers are large brand names in the retail industry, retailers itself and the POS solution providers. So let's start with the fiscalization challenges. This is how the retailers are seeing it, and this is the true story. This is actually how it is. I split these challenges in three different groups. So I will speak about efforts, I will speak about impact on the retail processes, and in general infrastructure of the retailer. So if we speak about the people or the efforts, when the fiscalization starts and when the retailer has to expand and go to a certain country, first of all, they have to engage adequate people, and these people you have to have a good knowledge and understanding about the retail, and especially about fiscalization. These people do not grow on a tree, so you have to either invest in them and have them in your company and then grow them, so to say, or if you have to engage them from outside of the company, then it's going to be quite costly for you. Second point is related to the sources of information. They are not so easy to find. Different countries or different institutions in the countries provided by government are providing the different information about fiscal laws, different documents, so it's always effort and time needed to get them. Another point is related to the language issues, because certain governments or institutions are expecting to contact them on a local language. So once again, it brings some cost for the translation for the people that will going to handle that for you. Once you get these documents, it's very hard to, you can read the documents, but it doesn't mean that you understand the fiscal law. It means that certain elements are actually, that are going on in a production, differentiate from what is in the law, or it's not written in the law. So you have to find someone who can explain you what the best practice is and how to use this in the production. Once you create that, then you have someone that validates. Once you go through the documentation and understand what needs to be done, someone on the side needs to validate that for you. You also need to know the right procedures. You have to invest in the development, maintenance of the solution, and so on. So you already see there is a lot of efforts. So this is one side. Then we speak about business processes. If you are operating, if the POS application is running in non-fiscal countries, there are no special requirements and so on. But as soon as you go to the fiscal country, you have to adapt your solution with additional fields or to change the processes which are working in regular countries and so on. There are also different fiscalization rules for different channels, which is also too complex, because it could be complex because sometimes there are certain rules for e-commerce and different rules for the POS in standalone POS and so on. Reporting process, once again, this is you have to create additional report, you have to be able to save them in a specific format and so on. Storage rule, this is another challenge for the retailers, which is changing the storage rules in the other countries. Audits, always interesting. You have to be prepared in a specific way in order to produce specific documents upon request of the auditor, or to have some person which will be able to present whatever is requested by the audit. Registration with tax authorities, meaning that you have to report your stores, your POSs, and everything else in order to be able to operate in the country. Certification, another interesting topic. Once you have your solution ready and operating in a country, you have to run it through the specific certification process with some regulatory bodies approved by the government, which is also challenging and quite complex. And then at the end, there are some protocols that needs to be followed in terms of security. Now I move to the infrastructure challenges of the retailer. Maybe we can use Germany as a good example. When Germany was introducing a fiscal law, many businesses were operating or issuing receipt using the old cash registers. And then this was not compatible with the fiscal law, so the government said that everyone needs to replace this system in a certain period of time. So all of them had to replace the existing equipment for a new one in order to be compliant with the law. If you go to the country which require, for example, fiscal printers, this means that you will have to use this fiscal printer in order to issue the receipt. You will not be able to use it otherwise. Then you have the requirements related to delivery of data to the tax authority in real time. It means that you will have to equip your store with internet, and then once you open your store or expose your store to the network, it means that you will have to implement additional security protocols to keep your data and store protected. So altogether it's challenging. If we speak about additional hardware that is used by the retailers, such as outdoor payment terminals, self-checkout vending machines, and similar, they're designed in a certain way to work with a certain hardware and so on. But if you move to the country where, for example, there is a requirement for the vending machine and a specific fiscal device, it means that you will have to change the construction of your self-checkout in order to add the fiscal printer to it, which makes it already too complex and demanding. There are certificates that have to be used by the retailers, which means that you have to store it at a certain location, take care of them, maintain it at the same time. Storage rooms, this is also interesting story. In Serbia, the old fiscal law consider usage of the fiscal printer, and the fiscal printer were dual station fiscal printer. What does it mean? There are two paper rolls, and once the retailer is issuing receipt, the one paper roll is actually printing the receipt, which is handed out to the customer, and the second paper is printing the same data, but it's never cut and handed to the customer. It remains in the printer until it's full with the data. And then there is obligation for the retailer to keep this paper roll. And then there was the obligation was to keep it for 5, 6, 10 years. I don't even remember. And the thing is that you can imagine that the retailers, which are actually having millions of the transactions per day, how many paper rolls they use. So they literally had to rent, this is a true story, they had to rent the storage rooms where they will keep these paper rolls in case the audit comes and they want to search through the paper rolls and find the data. So this is ridiculous from the very beginning. And even more, this paper was a thermal paper, so it faded after a year. So you end up with tons of boxes where there is no visible data on the paper rolls. So these fiscalization requirements most of the times are very demanding for the retailers. And of course, sometimes maintenance agreements are also needed in order to keep the hardware or software up to date, and it's required by the government as well. So one more slide and I'm done with negative aspects. So I will move to the point and whatever is fiscalization actually bringing good to the retail. So what are the negative aspects of the fiscalization as well? For example, if we speak about the e-commerce platform in a country where the fiscal law requires usage of the fiscal printer and there is a requirement to fiscalize the e-commerce, it's very hard to imagine that the e-commerce platform will communicate with the fiscal printer. I'm not saying that it's impossible, people are doing it, but it's not a proper way to do it. It's not something that is nice and easy to use, it's opposite. Then if you're speaking about cashierless store and you have an obligation to issue the paper receipt in a country, then it's complex again. Certain countries are also bringing some limitation for solution providers in a form where you have to operate a business in a country for 20 years, have a certain volume of the income and so on, which makes this impossible for the new company which would like to enter the market, just not being able to fulfill these requirements. Omnichannel experience is also limited because if you have different rules for the e-commerce platform and the standalone POS, and you cannot just do even a simple thing, order online and pick it up in a store, or order online and do return in a store. You have to reference to the certain elements required for fiscalization, and if they are opposite on these two platforms, it will just not work. Mobile devices, this is another thing. I never seen the iPhone or Android where you can attach RS-232 printer to it and just use it to print the receipt. So certain countries are limiting usage of the mobile devices, which is becoming a standard in a modern retail. And of course, there are limitations for a cloud. Once again, if you have to communicate with the fiscal printer from the cloud, this is a bit challenging. So I'm done with negative aspects. Now I'm moving to the positive side of the story. So let's start from the positive aspects related to the country itself. The good example is Croatia. They introduced online fiscalization rules where each and every POS had to report each sales to the tax authority in real time. And Croatia is famous for its islands, and most of these islands were not covered with a proper internet. So the government had to invest in the infrastructure and cover all the country with possibility to use the internet in each and every location. So not only so of course this was demand for the retail, but all the people and the other businesses benefit from being able to use the internet in each and every location in a country. Then government itself has to invest in the infrastructure in order to be able to work with a large data, to be able to store this data, to handle the multiple transactions at the same time. So they have to invest in the infrastructure and bring some powerful computers, which then gives them opportunity to lower the administrative work, because they can, for example, you don't have to do the paperwork anymore. You can keep everything in digital form. Inspections also could be targeted. So instead of going from store to store and trying to find some problem by searching through the documents in a store, you can easily find it, or the tax authority can easily find it just looking at the data it receives from the store, and then they can see where the problems is and go directly to that store and see and inspect it and see why they are receiving the wrong data. Don't ask me how I know. And so on and so on. So I mean, this also brings opportunity to government to use some interesting or additional applications, for example, running the lottery or giving opportunity to all the people in the country to check if everything is, if they receive the properly fiscal receipt, and by that check if everything is working properly. And at the end, fiscalization is definitely limiting the grey economy, which are once again bringing some more funds into the budget, which can once again be invested in the society. All the countries more or less are reporting that they are actually having the more income in the budget after they implemented or introduced fiscalization in the country. So let's see what are the positive. So we've seen what are the positive impact for the government itself. So let's see what are the positive impact for the retailers. Some of these demands, I speak about it a little bit earlier, like infrastructure demands and exposing the store to the internet and to the network, actually is modernizing the store infrastructure, because now having the internet in a store, you can use the different elements and now be modern, and let's say you can switch to the mobile technology. So now you can use the mobile devices for the different elements in the store. This also gives you opportunity to use, for example, cloud-based solutions. You can also, with these mobile devices, for example, in Germany, if you use the old cash register, it's hard to imagine that you will use it to print the e-receipt or to give the e-receipt to the customer. But now with the mobile devices, they are able to do so. And some other modern apps, which, for example, enable them to use the loyalties and whatever else is required in retail. Moving forward, I'm finishing, I'm very close, a couple more slides. Croatia introduced requirement for the green markets to use the to have mandatory obligation to issue fiscal receipts. So now you can see, if you go to the regular market, now all of them are using mobile devices to charge for whatever goodies customers are buying. And then at the same time, they, for example, can use it for a payment, not only for fiscalization, and for the other purposes as well. So this is one example how fiscalization is positively impacting retail. Then we have some security concepts. This is good example is in Germany, where security concepts, which been used in some other fields, are now moved to the stores itself, and now they are used to send and protect data in a form that is required by the government. In Serbia, we had an example where EEPROM was could be manipulated on a very low temperature, and it was recognized. So it means that the fiscal data could be changed or erased or whatever, and government recognized that. So the manufacturers of EEPROM had the obligation to upgrade it and bring it to another level, so they avoid such situation. So this is a great example how the fiscalization influenced improvement of certain hardware devices. Then there are some creative concepts. One of them is related to the payment and fiscalization. There was a requirement in Serbia to use a specific security module in order to store all the data. So what we did, we made a partnership with one of EFT terminals providers where they inserted this security module into the EFT, and we bring the software to it. So now the customers can run through whole certification through the same EFT device. The other concept, which also is possible through the fiscalization, is one interface for usage of different apps. For the fiscalization, you have to collect different data related to maybe to the customer, but for the VAT, for the customer data, company data, and so on. And all this data can be later on used for another applications as well. So for example, you can connect payment, you can connect vouchers handling, you can connect e-receipt, and many other applications just through the same interface. A middleware as a concept never exists before the fiscalization. We had different providers, individual providers for each and every country, but then by growing fiscalization needs in the different countries, middleware concept became possible. So now you have the one middleware which can handle the different fiscalization requirements in many countries. And fiscalization also born the completely new industry of the consultants being 100% focused on the fiscalization, different services providers related to the certification needs, to the maintenance of the hardware software solution. Then we have a different hardware concepts for the different countries, the same as the software. So if I have to conclude, there are many different aspects which are, you heard me, so there are more negative topics that fiscalization is bringing to the retail, and of course it's seen as a burden. But on the other hand, there are some positive aspects, and I can say that fiscalization is definitely have a positive impact on a certain elements of the retail. So altogether, there are more negativity, but there are some positive side as well. So that was it for me. Thank you very much for listening. I'm open for all the questions.
Thank you, Milan Tadaric. Thank you so much. Are there any questions of you? Okay, so I think it's quite complex. Can you tell me maybe when defining those fiscal laws, other governments are kind of consulting the professionals?
No, not really. And I think this is one of the problems because they are looking at just from their end, and they just thinking about how to handle the gray economy and to prevent the fraud. But on the other side, they are not consulting the people with the knowledge and people from the retail, and then it ends up as I presented, yes.
What do you think? Wouldn't it be easier to have like a modern global standard?
I definitely think this is good. We had some of the competitors speaking about VIDA standard a little bit earlier, which I think is going to synchronize e-invoicing in a certain way. And we are working on through the OMG group on the global standard for the fiscalization. We are close to finalize it, so we are very happy to be part of something that is going to be recognized on a global level and that is going to simplify everyday life of the retailers.
Good. So, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I am HAL 10, E36 in February. Feel free to visit us. Okay. Thank you once again.
Thank you.